What started in 1982 as a small in-school showcase of talent has grown into one of the most popular activities at Stevenson High School, the Pantomime Show, often called putting on the hits. These choreographed lip-synced acts often imitate music videos, rock bands, movie scenes, and any other creative performances the students can come up with. I was lucky enough to be able to sit down and talk to the producer of the show.
My name is Amy Van Horn, and I am the teacher producer, one of the teacher producers of the Pantomime Show. Basically, Mrs. Maxon and I, she's the other teacher producer, coordinate the students and help the activity happen for the kids. The Pantomime Show started at Stevenson High School in the early 1980s. I was not here then. However, the man that I student taught with was here, and he started the Pantomime Show, which is how I then eventually got involved in it. And the show was started because in the early 80s, there was a regular talent show, and during one of the acts, there was a comedic performance, and a student came up with some very lewd and inappropriate jokes and references during his skit that were unrehearsed, and it was spontaneous, and I believe many of the jokes were related to staff members and the administration. So the administration at Stevenson at the time canceled the talent show, and part of it was because of the fact that the student in a spontaneous way changed his act. So Mr. George, Jim George, the teacher who created the Pantomime Show, came up with the idea that if things were pre-recorded and therefore students would have, and they were lip syncing, they wouldn't have the opportunity as easily as had happened in that case with a live microphone for unrehearsed acts of rebellion, I guess you could say, to happen. And he put it past the administration, who said, okay, that'll be fine. And I personally think that the popularity and the success of the show and its inception in the early 80s, it also really went along with the same time period as early MTV. So music videos, which were basically lip syncing of songs and acting out songs, were also growing in popularity or becoming more advertised with the MTV was the early 80s. So I think that just all kind of set itself up at the same time. And that's how and why Stevenson has the only pantomime show that I know of, and I think why it's still pretty popular.
The development of the show allowed students to display talent, yet at the same time respect the administration's concern for live, impromptu student performances.
As far as choosing the acts go, we're looking for something unique. What we tell the students, it's not always just the popular songs that are out nowadays, the top 40 songs. It has to not only be an appropriate song for a high school and even sometimes a wide audience, parents, grandparents, and small children come to the show, so it needs to be relatively clean for that reason and school appropriate, but also the energy and the level of interest for the entire audience. So it's got to be something unique, but the kids are supposed to be sort of acting it out the best as they can. Unlike the choir or the band, they're not really singing or playing the instruments, so their performance, their energy needs to be really good in their choreography. And we want variety, so it could be we want oldies, we want new things, we want, again, a variety.
Variety is what they want, variety is what they got. Over the years, acts have ranged from country to hip-hop, musicals, comedy skits, and rock and roll acts. Guys dressing as girls always seems to be a crowd favorite, and as always, there's a seasonal Christmas act.
Once the students actually make the show, and so they've auditioned and their act was chosen for the show, we actually only have 5 official practices before the show begin, the show date. So they're very intense practices after school from about 3 to 9 o'clock on those nights. And then we have the actual performances. So it's one of those activities that while it doesn't happen for 3 months like a basketball season or a football season, it's very intense as it's happening. For me as a teacher, it's very intense because I teach all day and then I go and am involved with over 100 kids at one time in the auditorium until 9 o'clock at night, and I still somehow have to get ready to teach again the next day.
These practices also take their toll on the kids, going from right after school to 9 o'clock at night. You often see students doing their homework before and after their time on stage to prepare for their classes at 7 o'clock the next morning.
I think kids who go to other high schools are kind of jealous that Stevenson has this pantomime show. I can speak for myself that growing up, I took a lot of dance classes, and my sister and I would always just make shows and act things out as small kids. And had there been something like this at my school, we definitely would have tried out for it. But we weren't music. I cannot sing, I cannot play an instrument, but I like to try to act and perform. I think there is an appeal for other kids. It's a different type of talent and activity, and kids just get to be energetic and have a good time and play around on a stage.
Acts perform not only in school, but in 3 evening performances as well. The show is even televised on the LPS Channel 15 throughout the year. Over the years, critiques have deemed the show the no-talent talent show, but with its sophisticated lighting and sound, professional staging, and polished choreography, the Pantomime show is undoubtedly a showcase of talent. The Pantomime show at Stevenson is the only one of its kind, celebrating over 25 years. It remains one of the most popular activities at Stevenson High School. It encourages a wide range of students to positively participate, entertain, and maybe even inspire.